jumped out at you as things you need to work on this week?
Yeah, like more than anything, just like the turnovers. Like when you put yourself in that position and you turn the basketball over, you kind of negate some of the good things that you're doing. Like we shot the ball pretty well in the first half. You don't turn it over. You probably take the game, out of contention, and obviously we didn't because it was a possession game with 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go, whatever that stat was. So I think that's the first and foremost, but I think it's also like a good lesson for them that you have 7 turnovers in both of your first games, so you think that's okay, we're going to be good, and you're never okay in that area. You're always working on taking care of the ball. You're always working on rebounding. You never get to where you got that figured out and you're going to be fine. Even though sometimes numbers will say that, it can rear its ugly head, and that's not just our team. That's every team in college basketball, throughout the years. So when you turn it over and I think we allowed 11 layups at one time, probably more. During the course of the game, so you're giving them layups, and you're getting some transition layups. We didn't have our guy be a safety a couple times. They just got to run out, and the guy just didn't go back on D. He went and rebounded instead. And so you just can't have that loss of concentration. And then defensively, we got to do a better job of containing the dribble. We got to do a better job of keeping the ball out of the paint. I think that's when a lot of good things are going to happen for the opposition, is when they're living on the paint, whether that's deep post-ups or drives or offensive rebounds or sometimes just sacrificial cuts, right? Somebody's diving really hard or somebody's cutting really hard to draw people in, and they throw it out. Then you get into a bad closeout, then they drive you, and now you're in scramble mode and you're just helping. So you got to have your defense built to help, but you can't live in help. If you're just living in help and helping all the time and nobody can contain the dribble, you're making the game really hard on yourself. So we got to do a better job of staying out of rotations, but yet once it does happen, being aware of what's going on and just simply keeping the ball in front of us. But we put a lot of time in on screening, whether you're switching, not switching, however you're handling the ball screen stuff. So they're fully aware going into the game what's probably going to happen and how we're going to go about it. But anytime something shifts, it's just basketball. You just have to adjust to what they're doing. But it's coming along. It's not something that, you ask somebody what they're working on in June and July, and I'm like, hey, what are you working on? You know what, I've been screening my ass off here in open gym. I think coach is going to play me. But guys that screen and guys that rebound and defend, it helps their cause. It helps our cause. It's one of those things where that's mental. If that's something that bothers him, he's allowing that to bother him. It's the physical piece of it is what you work towards. The one thing that jumps out when you're a high school kid and you come and play in college is how hard you have to play. But every 4 minutes there's a timeout. And then we got our timeouts too, and you got halftime. It's a hell of a concept. It's hey, play hard for 4 minutes, get a breather. Play hard for 4 minutes. Well, he's getting ready to go and practice, and he's going to practice hard for 2 straight hours. And we're not sitting around calling media timeouts. He can get a drink when he wants. He can but we're going to practice, and we're going to be there. So learn to use your energy, but just keep working on your stamina. Keep playing on both ends, because that's what great players do. But he didn't pick the ball up. He picked the ball up probably 10 to 20% of the time. I'm probably being a little generous there. So Jakari can do it, CJ can do it. Cam and actually Miles do it at times. They go pick the ball up. So he does it a little bit, but not a lot. So it kind of shows you how good of a player he is, because his numbers are off the charts and he didn't have that good of a game. Right.
How do guys like him, especially first few games, how do they get that mindset before they've had that physical growth that you're expecting over?
Yeah, well, he's played. He played high-level prep school basketball. He's played USA basketball. He played on the EYBL circuit. So he's played against real players his age. Now it's the part of playing against real players that are older than you. And you're going to have some issues, but just embrace the physicality of the game and don't give into it. Keep fighting it. Keep working on getting lower, keep working on hitting first, and then making a play. Sometimes guys don't understand, you're hitting to be in a better position so you can make a play. You're not hitting for the sake of hitting. Whether you're on a line in football and, you're hitting somebody as an offensive lineman, you're either pass protecting or it's, your run game. There's a scheme to what you're doing. You got to be able to be physical, but you got to also do, you know, what you're supposed to from a scheme. And that's his whole deal, like being able to hit or get hit and still get the rebound, hit or get hit and still get the ball. So like just the functionality of it's really important.
It's one of the better shooting teams you've ever coached,
They-
3-point wise. And
Yeah, they got to be better than second in the country, because last year we were second in the country, right? So, and that's what, like, the previous year after that, like, you got to understand our top volume shooters, you know, Fletcher, Braden, Mason, Lance, you know, 3 of those 4 were with us the year before, and we were, you know, we didn't have a very good number, right? And everybody said, hey, you got to improve your shooting. And, you know, those guys were good shooters that just didn't shoot well. You know, obviously I've watched them and been around them. So I think that's it. You know, one of the things that I really work towards with those guys is like improve somebody's shooting by being a good decision maker. Like if you're constantly catching the ball at your ankles or at your head, go out there and shoot 100 shots and let somebody throw you where you catch 100 at your ankles, 100 at your head, and 100 right here, and you're a good shooter. Now if you're an awful shooter, it's going to be horrendous. Like, because people don't make very many shots where they're tagging people out at second base or they're catching the ball over their head. Like, so we work really hard and like try to stop them. Like, hey man, put the ball on the money. Like, put it there every single time, because you're feeding into their rhythm or you're taking them out of the rhythm. What good shooters will do is get out of rhythm and then try to get back into rhythm and still shoot it because they're hungry as hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they want to shoot the basketball. And you've normally dropped their percentage at least 10 to 15% by that bad pass. So working towards being better shooters, putting in more time, going game speed, but also the decision maker is key. From now on, watch when people have to catch the ball by their ankles or jump up in the air. It's normally a rebound drill.